Before we get started today, I wanted to share something truly transformative that I've just started incorporating into my skincare routine. You will have seen me talk about the Current Body LED mask. Now level up your LED experience further with the Current Body Skin LED Neck and Décolletage Perfector. It harnesses the power of clinically proven red and near-infrared wavelengths which accelerate collagen production. And 95% of users reported improvements. And I agree, my skin feels more youthful, plump and radiant. It's a game changer for glowing skin, or if you have skin concerns like redness, rosacea or sun damage. It's 100% safe, pain-free and portable, perfect for consistent use. Head over to currentbody.com and use my discount code StyleDNA for 15% off. Today, I'm going on a sartorial journey with Prince's Trust, Women Supporting Women ambassador and transgender fashion designer Serenity Mason. Serenity started her fashion business in 2018, Vault of Serenity, a stall in Tunstall Market, Stoke, after completing the Prince's Trust Enterprise Programme. The programme had offered her practical advice about tax, business planning and pricing her items, as well as the support of a business mentor. I met Serenity at a Prince's Trust fundraising dinner, and I was so struck by her and her story that I felt the best way for me to help shine a light on the incredible, life-changing and at times even life-saving work that the Prince's Trust is doing was to use my Style DNA platform. So hello and welcome, Serenity.
Thank you for having me.
It's lovely to have you here. Thank you for making the journey from Birmingham today. I think in the first instance, I would love to understand the impact that the Prince's Trust has had on you and your life.
Where do I start? It changed my life. It saved my life in many ways. Before the Prince's Trust, I was in a very, very dark place where I was dealing with my PTSD and my depression and various other sort of issues that sort of all piled on me and made life just very, very difficult. When my father died, I decided this is the time where I need to start turning things around. So I started to look at my options and think, well, how can I get back on the ladder? How can I get myself turned around and try and make something of myself so I don't waste away here in my current circumstance? So I reached out to the Prince's Trust and they got in contact with me immediately and be like, yeah, we can help you. And there's just such a level of energy that comes from them that I'd not seen in a very long time. For the first time in years, I felt hope. And, you know, hope to somebody that hasn't seen that or can't feel it right at that point, it's a nice feeling. It builds your resolve and it makes you feel like, you know, maybe I'm not a write-off. Maybe I can do something. You
mentioned PTSD.
Yeah.
Are you happy to share
what
absolutely.
That was from? I had quite a rough life in school. I was bullied relentlessly. My parents were always phoning up the school and trying to deal with things like I'd been in another fight or I'd been beaten up or something had happened, and I was living life in survival mode for so long that I'd kind of built up traumas and various different things from not actually coping with them healthily at the time, because I just needed to focus on getting through the next day and the next day after that and just living so that maybe when I get out the other end I can pick up the pieces. And PTSD isn't easy. It still affects me now, actually. I'm currently going to CBT therapy every single week just to get through it, on like alongside me doing all this crazy stuff with my life.
To process it?
Yeah, to sort of like process it, be able to cope with it easier.
Yeah.
So that as my life progresses, it can stop being something that holds me back, because at the moment it feels like an anchor.
Yeah.
It feels like I'm sailing the seas, but I've still got this thing dragging along behind me, and I'm like, I want to snip that off. I want to get rid of this. I want this holding me back.
Yeah. A weight, a heaviness.
Yeah, exactly.
How did you first hear of the Prince's Trust, though?
So I heard of the Prince's Trust initially because I was reaching out through the job centre. Not the most glorified start, but, you know, you've got to be somewhere. And they said about the Prince's Trust that they had a couple of programmes and things that I could go and do. So I didn't know exactly what that would be. I always said that I wanted my own business, but it was always something I wanted to do. And fashion was always something I really wanted to do. So I went to the Prince's Trust, and although I had no kind of fashion background in education or anything, they were more than willing to support that.
And what did you do initially with the Prince's Trust? What program did you go on?
That was the enterprise program. So it's a program that's focused on just building young people's business ideas, their business plans, and then helping them with the funding and ability to actually make it happen.
And when you first went there, did you have an idea for Vault of Serenity?
I did.
Or was it just you wanted to work in fashion?
I always had this kind of idea kind of set out at the start. Like I always wanted this little shop where I was selling all these kind of alternative clothing wares and things, different bits, just something unique, something unusual, something that not everywhere else has. I wanted to be like that little glimmer of light in the high street that you see and be like, that's a cool shop.
So you went into the enterprise program knowing that that's where you wanted to get to at the other end of it, and they took you on a business journey.
Yeah, they took me on a business journey. So it was a 5-day program at the time. I think it's been reduced down to 3 now with like extra kind of support. But I went through it, and every day was slightly different. So at first it was like put your business plan onto some paper, like, you know, just write down what it is, brainstorm what it is, get a grasp of what you want to do. And then you go through all the things like financial things, and some people find the accounts rather boring. Luckily I had studied that at college, so I kind of whisked through that fairly fast. And by the end of the week I pretty much had the basics to build a business plan. So then we go away, we could build this plan with on support from the trust itself. I had a rather nice guy called Martin that was helping me out whenever I had any needs. So I could just phone him up and be like, I'm a little stuck here, what do I do with this? And he'd be able to give me the support and guidance that I need, but not just the support in the case of building the plan and building the business. If I was called up and I was like having a little bit of trouble with my mental health right now, or this is holding me back, I was always met with kindness and patience, and they'd help me resolve that or deal with that or get me the extra support I need so that I can still continue doing what I want to do, but without sacrificing myself.
Brilliant. And then, so you present the business plan, and then what happens next?
So I remember when I presented the business plan, and that was an interesting one because they get several local business sort of people in just to sort of look over your plan and give it the thumbs up. I went in there and it's like a boardroom. It felt very kind of like doing like Dragon's Den or something. And I was like, oh, here we go. This is where it could all fall apart or it could all come together. They were all really impressed by my idea. They liked what I was going to bring to this local community and the space that I was in. It was risky, but it felt exciting at the same time. And I brought something to that town that had never been seen before. I just actually started the business on £1,000, which is
well done.
Very little.
Well done. But sometimes I think actually being on a really tight budget can actually make us really creative.
Yeah, you can get very creative when you've got limited options to what you do. And because I was making a lot of bits and pieces in-house, so I had my little sewing machine at the shop and I was doing bits and pieces. I was sewing pear bows and little accessories and things. I was like buying and selling dresses and things from companies that I knew were reputable, because I kind of admired other fashion companies. I like to wear other fashion company stuff as well, so I was quite often running around the market in a lovely like 50s swingy dress or something.
Oh, fun.
So I was always a character, and people always like admired the kind of like overconfidence I kind of brought out there.
Creativity.
Yeah.
But now you are an ambassador for Women Supporting Women. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
So my role as an ambassador is sort of represent the trust's interests. So I'll go out to events and I'll be that kind of representative head, but I'll tell my story and inspire people, and people that have never heard about the trust before, particularly even that they might be there and they're like, oh, I don't know what the trust's about. And then I stand up on the stage and I tell them my life story, and I'm like, I started in the dark and now I'm here, I'm doing things, and now I'm standing before you telling you that your support can support other people.
I must admit, when I heard you speak at that dinner, it just brought the whole thing to life for me. You know, it's one thing saying the Prince's Trust does this great work, etc., but when you see and hear how it has really affected and possibly even saved someone's life, it's so uplifting, and what I love about it is so constructive. You know, it helped you create a business. That's such a gift.
And there's not many organisations out there that would give you those tools. They might be able to give you the business support and things like that, but not hold your hand through the entire process. And there was never any kind of like limitations or kind of like, oh, you're going to have to look at this realistically or anything. It's like, if you've got a dream, let's see how it's possible and let's see how we can do it.
Love that. But today we're going on a style journey.
Yes.
So my first question to you is, how did you decide what you were going to wear today?
Oh, heavens. Well, obviously we're coming into a bit of an autumnal kind of season, so I tried to pick some browns and things, and none of this is my work. I got this rather nice top out in Camden a couple of months ago, and I thought it was just a little bit bright and warm. I just tried to pick something that was a little warmer for the weather, kind of felt right for the season, because a lot of my own personal designs are quite summer orientated.
Are they? That's interesting. And are you always a hat wearer?
Oh, I like a good hat, especially
Always
a beret.
beret.
It's always beret. It's the hat of the creative, as I like to say. That, and if you've got a bad hair day.
Oh, absolutely. I've got more into hats. Definitely.
I think it's all about finding the right hat, though. Because I feel like everybody's got a hat that suits them.
Suits their face shape. It always fascinates me going to see a milliner, actually, because they can look at your face and put the right hat on you immediately. It's such a skill. But you grew up in the Midlands.
I did.
Were you very aware of your parents' style when you were growing up?
My mum was always quite fashionable. My dad not so much, but that's because my dad had disability, so he was just sort of like slap the jeans and polo top on, that'll do, you know. He lived in those things. But my mum was always quite experimental with her style. She'd like try different coats and different scarves and combinations, and she'd be in these blouses and jeans, and she's even sort of passed down clothes to me in the past, and I was wearing a rather nice sort of leather bodice at the dinner when we met.
Yes, lovely.
And that was actually handed down from my mother, and she used to wear it when she was my age.
Now, am I correct in saying that your mother and your grandmother loved to sew?
They do. My Gran's kind of went off the sewing as much these days because her hands aren't quite as good, but she's just recently got into crochet thanks to my mother, and now she's a little bit obsessed with crochet, so lots of yarn all over the place.
Are you designing what she's crocheting?
No, I'm not. I wish
Not
I
yet.
could design crochet patterns. I'm still learning how to do that.
Did they teach you how to sew?
My mum taught me how to sew, and my nan was always there sewing and bits and pieces, and I always heard the stories of my nan making like dresses out of curtains and things growing up, so that was always like, I was like, wow, that's so cool, you know, being able to just take a curtain which would have just been thrown away and turn it into something you can wear. I was always fascinated by that sort of idea of taking something that's a remnant and turning it into something that's wearable. So I actually tried to do that a lot with my own work. I tried to make sustainable fashion.
So in that sense, are you upcycling? Are you taking one garment and changing it?
Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes it will just be offcuts of fabric that are in weird shapes, but you can still get a little bit of a thing out of it, or kind of half of a top pattern, and then you can change it and do different things with it. I recently made a sort of like a long sleeve cold shoulder top with sort of like a mesh netting, and I made that entirely out of recycled band t-shirts.
Oh, great. Brilliant. Well, do you remember your earliest sartorial memory, the moment that you realised that clothes had power, that you put something on and you felt completely different?
Yeah, okay, so this quite relates to my transition in a very strong sense. And when I was sort of in my very early years, maybe 10, 11 years old, I was sort of like stockpiling bits and pieces sort of in hiding spots so I could kind of experiment with my gender and sort of find and feel more myself. But it felt like when I put all that kind of those bits and pieces on, and I made some unusual style choices when I was 10, because we do, I was finding myself, and by choosing that kind of clothing and different bits and pieces, and even the alternative wear that I got into a couple of years afterwards, it was always like just me experimenting, and I never really sat on a style. Like even now, I'm that child still.
Yeah.
I'll go out and I'll pick random things and I'll put different things together. I never tend to follow trends as much. I always find myself looking at trends occasionally, but because that's just because I want to keep up on them because of my profession. But it's more that I like to be the trendsetter almost and kind of go, well, this makes me happy, but also this other top makes me happy, or I'm going to put a cardigan with that because it's cozy and it makes you feel fuzzy and warm. So I'll throw things together because they reflect my inner self.
So you're quite a mood dresser, would you say?
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you wear a school uniform?
I did.
How did that feel?
I hated it.
What was it? Tell me.
So it was the old blazer with the stocky shoulders.
Lovely.
Lovely dark blue tie. I absolutely loathed the entire outfit, but I think it's because of what it represented as well, because school was not a nice place for me, so it was almost felt like I was putting on my prison jumpsuit every morning.
What colour was it?
It was black and dark blue.
Did you ever customise your school uniform?
I did. Too
How?
much.
How? Tell me.
I was always getting told off for it. I was always untucking my shirt. I was always doing my tie too short, and making it big or
The big knot.
things. I was always trying to play around with my style even then because it was very restrictive. But I always wanted to not be the same.
That was school uniform, and that was at a time that you were feeling not fully yourself in your body.
Yeah, it felt like I was wearing a mask almost.
So you would come home and try on different looks in the privacy of your own
kind of
room.
when I had my own space, my own room, which I did eventually have by the time I was in my mid-teens. We never had much room growing up because of my dad being disabled and me and my sister having to share space, and never really had that space to explore myself. And then when I finally did get that space, I was trying, whenever I had a spare moment, I'd be exploring something, or would have managed to buy a skirt from a charity shop or something and hid it away. And
Did your sister know about this?
I told my sister when I was 16 because I finally confided in her, because she came into my room one day and I was rather upset because I was just cracking under the pressure. I couldn't hold it in any longer, and so I told her, and she kept it to herself all these years until I finally came out.
Did she help you at all on your style journey?
I think that she was always been quite an inspiration in my life. I've always really looked up to my little sister. She's always been such a strong, independent character, and she's always been there for me. It's like whenever I was struggling or had hardships, she was always the first to be like straight in that room, put an arm around me, go, oh, are you okay? What's up? Do you want to talk about it? Or even if I don't want to talk about it, she'd just stay there until I felt okay again,
True sister.
Yeah, we're quite close.
Lovely. And you still are?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
She lives in Brighton now. So beautiful city.
Yeah.
And I've yet to visit her. I'm
you must go.
I'm certainly planning on it.
It's great vintage shops there.
Yes, it's
too.
like the creative capital, isn't it? So I do intend to go there, but we are still really close, even though the distance.
Now, you created a label called Vault of Serenity. How did you come up with the name and the concept?
Okay, so I thought of vault as if it's almost like you open a vault and all this magical stuff's inside, all this colour.
Yeah.
All this unique stuff, and you don't know what's going to be behind this big vault door. And this feels like the mask I was wearing all these years. That door was that mask, and I just needed someone's the strength to be able to lift the hatch and pull it open and open up all this stuff inside I'd been hiding. So I called it the Vault of Serenity because I wanted to be almost like, this is me, world, and this is who I am.
Yeah.
And I'm here to share it with you all now.
Yeah.
And I'm not scared anymore.
It's lovely. I can really understand why the name came about. And Serenity, because it's your serene space?
Well, I suppose so. When I chose Serenity as my actual name, I chose it because by definition it means peace of mind. And that's exactly what I got from transitioning. I finally felt at peace with who I was. I felt like I was who I needed to be.
And when did you feel you actually transitioned? How old were you?
So when I actually started transitioning, I was 21, 22 years old. And that was when I first got myself on the NHS waiting lists, which are precariously long.
Yeah. And what does it actually mean? Sorry if that's a very ignorant question, but I'd love to understand what it means to you.
To be transgender?
To transition.
To transition. Okay, so to transition for me, it's so hard to put it into words because it means so many so many big, incredible things that it's very difficult to verbalize almost. But it feels like you're finally living your life for the first time. It feels like you're living in autopilot, like when you're masking and you're hiding away, and you like, I don't know how the world's going to take this. Are they ready for me yet? You know, is it progressive enough? Am I going to be in a world of hell just by doing it? And fortunately for me, when I came out, my family was very supportive. Even my dad was notably supportive, which I did not expect at all. I completely read him wrong, and I finally felt like I was alive. It felt like I had a reason to get up in the morning, and before that, it didn't feel like I was living.
Did you ever feel that you wish you'd opened up a little bit more to your family about it earlier, because they were so supportive when you did?
Yeah and no. I wish I had, in many senses, because I feel like I already know that they always would have loved me, and they never would have turned their back on me. I've seen some horror stories of what happens when it goes wrong. But in my case, it went very, very right. But I don't feel like the world was ready for me earlier on, especially in my teenage years. I don't feel like it was a safe enough space for me to transition, or it would have made my mental health worse with me trying to navigate the world when it's slightly less educated. I mean, there's a lot more talk about it now. We're talked about a lot more now.
I mean, it's such an intensely personal thing and it's such a complex thing that I would imagine it's a very bumpy journey that you just have to navigate yourself through.
And I mean, I face a great deal of challenges. Like through my transition, it's been difficult. I've had times where there's a lot of people that want to discredit the sort of the legitimacy of my existence, or that I shouldn't exist at all in some cases.
Oh no. But you have this incredible thing that you've created, Vault of Serenity. I understand it's on hold at the moment while you're at fashion college, which is just brilliant.
Yeah. I'm studying textile design now at university. I started on fashion, but then I decided, because I am actually self-taught pattern making, and I can do all my own garments and things like that. So I thought, I've already covered this space. But what I don't understand is textiles as much, but in the sense of how fabrics are created and made and printed. And I wanted to explore that and dive into this world of curiosity, and a way for me to explore all these different fabric types and how things work, and different kind of types of print and different ways of doing it.
Has your course impacted you already on the way you dress?
Yes, I suppose. I think I've opened myself up to more inspirations as I progressed through it. I've always been quite an outright kind of dresser anyway. I've been wearing quite unique clothing, or things that I've made myself, because the things I can't find are quite unique enough. So I've always been quite experimental with how I dress, especially when I came out, because I'd spent most of my time in secret transition, sort of like figuring out what to wear, what works. So I kind of had an idea when I first transitioned of what looks good. So when I finally kind of came out and I was going out into the world, I was like, I knew what to wear.
I mean, I often talk about how clothes can sometimes be our armour. You've talked openly about being bullied at school and how you battled with depression. And as a result of that, I wondered whether you think you ever used clothes to give you strength or protection.
Oh, absolutely. But I feel like that's because when we look good, we feel good. And when you get up in the morning, you put your armour on, you put your clothes on, you put your outfit that you've chosen and laid out the night before, if you're smart. And that is an armour in a sense, because you go out and you feel confident, you strut your stuff down that street. You could be in the middle of a council estate, but you still feel like you're on fire because you look good.
Love that. So would you say you're a mood dresser, or do you plan your looks ahead of the day?
I'm going to say a mood dresser, but I also do plan. But that's more because I plan multiple outfits for certain moods. So I might wake up one day and I feel like a comfy jumper mode, and I just want to feel cozy and comfortable. I've got outfits planned for that, or combinations that I've got that I can throw together for that.
How do you plan your outfits? Do you get in your bedroom and do a real blitz in front of the mirror and take selfies, or how do you plan your outfits?
I suppose I am a bit of a mirror hogger. I'll go through my wardrobe. Sometimes I'll pull bits out and they'll be all over the floor, all over the chairs, on the bed, everything. And I'll just be going around picking things up, putting things together that I didn't know might not work. I didn't buy them with the intention of going together. And then I'll throw something together, or try it on in the mirror and then go, no. And then I'll go back to the drawing board, try again, try something else. And then I find all these really unique looks that just really combo well together just by trying and experimenting.
How did you learn how to do your makeup?
It's quite common actually that I get asked, like, how do you do your makeup? Where did you learn to do your makeup? What makeup artist taught you how to do that? And I was like, just myself. But it's just because I've had lots of time to experiment, because even when I was in those early times of transition, and even when I was hiding it and I was just in my bedroom when I had my privacy, just trying things, like I'd have some makeup wipes on hand and I'd just try different things. So through my whole life almost, I've been experimenting and trying these different looks and seeing what works for me. So when I got to this point, it's like an everyday thing. I go to university with this kind of makeup on and stuff, and everybody's like, this must take ages. And I was like, no, 20 minutes.
Do you ever go out without your makeup on?
Very, very occasionally. It might be if I'm just popping to the shop for a bit of bread or something, the most brief encounter you can get away with. But if I'm going to go out, I feel like it really helps my confidence, and it makes my eyes glow a little more, makes me feel brighter and I feel happier.
Yeah. What do you think you reach for when you need to feel empowered?
It's got to be a flowy skirt. Got to have big flowy skirts.
Love that.
You just feel so untouchable.
Actually, out of interest, what did you wear when you went in front of was it the Enterprise board? What did you put on for that meeting? Because that's quite a big meeting.
Yeah, it was quite a big meeting. I had, it was so many years ago. I had like a purple kind of plum kind of colour blouse with like the sleeves cut off. It was like a short sleeve kind of thing with the nice little gold buttons, and I had like a quite nice pair of fitted kind of trousers, which was quite unusual for me because I'm usually like a skirt kind of girl.
And heels?
I didn't own a pair of heels at the time because I hadn't quite branched into that far of my transition. I did eventually get into the heels, and now I own multiple pairs.
Who would you consider to be your style icon?
Oh, I've had this one many a time, and my answer is always the same. I have always looked up to Vivienne Westwood.
Oh.
I love her attitude. Even if you just strip the fashion stuff away, it's the attitude and the way that she viewed the world and the way that she had impact as well.
When did you first come across her? How old were you?
I was quite young. That was because I had family that told me about Vivienne Westwood, and they were like, oh yeah, you should see Vivienne Westwood's work and stuff. So from quite early on, I was sort of like looking at various bits and pieces of her, and not always even the fashion, but just like the things she did, like the protests and all the different things.
Her vibe.
And her shop, and she first initially opened that shop, and it was quite controversial, but that was just so very her. And I was just like, I want to be like that.
I think what was so strong and is still about the brand, but about Vivienne, was her absolute integrity and authenticity to her thoughts.
That's another thing. She's just so true to herself, and I feel like I am also like that in a sense. And
I think there's a lot to be taken from that, isn't there? I think it is inspiring.
Yeah, she had a great sense of character, and she was never apologetic about being her or being herself, or whatever she put out on the table. It was like, this is what I'm putting on the table. It wasn't up for debate. Vivienne was very much, we're doing it my way, and I really admire that.
Absolutely. My one tiny little Vivienne story was there was a big fashion party at Kensington Palace. I can't remember, it was a fashion week party or something like that. It was years and years and years ago, and I remember we were sort of presented to, I think it was Princess Michael, and chatting to her, and she looked over my shoulder and she went, "Is that a bum I see. And it was Vivian there in a lace dress with absolutely nothing underneath. It was fantastic.
That's so very Vivian.
So Vivian. If someone were to describe your style in 3 words, what 3 words would you want those to be?
Oh, definitely like unique, alternative, like very alternative. It's inspiring. I mean, like I'll go around wearing whatever I want, and people will see that and be like, "Wow, why can't I do that?"
Good. Do you have one item of clothing that means the most to you?
Oh, I've got a few items of clothing that mean the most to me, and one of them's on my feet. These boots have been with me since the beginning of my transition.
I was going to say, how did they come about? How did you find them?
I bought these boots from New Rock themselves, and it was in 2016, 2015. Might have been the very, very back end of 2015. And that was when I just moved away from my parents, and I was living out in Stoke. And I wanted to express myself a bit more. I'd always wanted a pair of these boots. I was there in 2008 absolutely envying every goth girl that had these platform chunky boots, and I was like, I've got to have a pair of those. So I went out and I bought these, and I've had a few like reloves over the years. I've had to replace the laces and sort of sew up a little bit where I've had it split. And
so they're probably pretty empowering to you.
Yes, I would say so.
Yeah.
Kind of clunking your way in with these big platform boots. I mean, I've got another pair of New Rock boots as well, and those ones have got a little bit more of a click to them when you walk in, so you almost get that kind of empowering, kind of like wearing a high heel level click. And when you're walking, like, you slowly tap your way in, and people all look around, and I'm like, I'm here.
Is sound important to you, the way a skirt might rustle or your boots might click?
Oh, absolutely. I think the way that you carry yourself, and then as your clothes motion and reflect that.
Do you ever think about how something is going to move when you try it on?
Oh, absolutely. And because now I'm studying textiles, it means that I'm hyper vigilant to that. So when I'm buying something in a shop, or even picking fabrics in a fabric warehouse or something for my own projects, I'm sitting there thinking, how will this flow? I'll sit there with a meter of it off hanging, or like flowing around in the air, trying to get a feel for it. So I'm like, because this is going to be how it behaves, and how it behaves affects how you produce and what you make with it.
And how you cut it, yeah, absolutely. When you're not absolutely sure on something, a look, whose opinion do you most trust?
Mom. Always Mom. So I still do it now. I'll put on an outfit, and then I'll tap on her door, and I'll be like, what do you think of this one? Does this look okay? Is this all right? And she goes, yeah, you look great. And I'll be like, okay, take your word. Your word is final.
We've all had them, but what would you say was your worst fashion moment?
Oh, God. Okay, so my worst fashion moment. I bought these faux leather leggings, which I thought would look great. They did look great. They felt great when I wasn't moving. Walking down the street, not so much, because all I could hear was this fabric rubbing together.
Was it a squeak squeak?
Yeah, it was a little squeak squeak and a little brush. And everybody could hear it, and I felt like I was some kind of like human cricket rubbing my legs together. And I was like, yeah, maybe not. So I've actually never wore them since, but I don't have the heart to get rid of them, because I could cut them up and turn them into something.
Absolutely. If money were no object, what would be your just golden brand? What would be the brand that you would love to wear?
That's a really hard choice, because there's a few brands I go to for different things. But if we're talking clothing wise, there's actually a little goth company called Poison Industries, and it's spelled with a Z, just to be fun. And they make some wonderful clothes. The coats that I've had off them have lasted years, and they do tops and gloves and all kinds of things, and it's just really nice little stylistic add-ons for your like current wardrobe that just really bring out a little bit of class in it, but still kind of maintaining that kind of goth alternative vibe.
What would you say you've got an excessive amount of, if anything, in your wardrobe?
Oh, excessive amount of dresses. I have so many dresses, and that's partially because I run a dress shop, and every single time I had a new dress in. I always wanted one myself. And I wore them around the shop. I'd wear them around the market and different things. So customers would see them being worn and how they flow when they walk. And that did inspire sales because they could see it on a person. And it kind of made them go, wow, that's amazing. And I'd be like, yeah, I've got some on the rack there. And then they try one on and they can't leave it. They're like, okay,
Great.
I've got to have this. Because it just showed them that, like, I wouldn't sell anything that I wouldn't wear myself. And I think that inspired confidence in them.
Out of interest, when you had your shop, did you sell to many other trans
Oh yeah,
individuals?
I was kind of like a kind of very friendly space in that area. So I had nearly every other trans person or LGBT person,
Yeah.
or even just normal people that just wanted something completely different.
Yeah.
But they could come to mine in full confidence that I was never going to sit there and question them or anything. Like, I was just more bothered about, have I got the size, or
Yeah.
have I got the right fit for you? Or I'd even help style sometimes. They come in and be like, look, this is very new to me. They might be trans and they only just started their journey, so they didn't really know what would work for them. And I'd be able to look at their body type, look at their style, and I would pick something out and be like, okay, try this, or maybe a little dress belt with that and things, just to really bring it out. And they always left with such a big smile on their face, and they were like, we're coming back.
What is your approach to sustainable fashion?
Okay, so sustainable fashion is something that I've had to really take on board a lot because of my degree. I never really I never throw things away. If I do get rid of something, it will go to charity where it could be repurposed, resold. If it's something that's too bad to give away, I will butcher it up, take what fabric I can, and I'll turn it into something new. Or it stays in a bag for so many years until I finally get round to turning it into something new. But I never waste. I try to never waste. No matter what it is, I look at it as fabric that can be used.
What do you do with your clothes when you've had enough of them?
I might cut them up, turn them into something different. Maybe if I've got a dress that I've worn so many times and I'm just sick of it, but it's too worn to be able to gift it on, or whatever the case. Sometimes I will gift a piece on to maybe another trans person that's just starting their journey out and they want to experiment. They might get through many dresses, so it's very much just a placeholder in their wardrobe. So sometimes I'll chuck it that way. Otherwise I might go, I really like the pattern on this, so I might cut it up and turn it into a little pouch or a pillow or something. I've made a few pillows over time from recycled dresses.
Lovely, lovely. What is the oldest piece in your wardrobe?
I've got some old Hell Bunny brand pieces from the early 2000s, which are considered vintage now. It's like God knows what the class me as. I suppose I've got this one skirt which is gorgeous. It's like a multi-layered pinstripe with these little patches on, and it's a stunning piece to wear. I almost never wear it because I'm so scared of wearing it out.
You sound like you have a huge wardrobe.
I do have quite a lot.
Do you look after everything beautifully?
I do. It's all on hangers. It's all laid out. I can pick and nitpick at anything, but it means I've got so many options that depends on how I'm feeling. Depends on, sometimes I'm going to an event and there'll be a theme and I'll be like, well, I've got something for that. I don't need to go out and buy more. I don't need to go and consume more. I can try and put something together, or I can even take this. I haven't worn this in 7 years. I know I'll take that and I'll cut it up and turn it into something new.
Move on to the quick-fire questions. What fashion advice would you give to your 20-year-old self?
Don't be afraid to experiment. Don't be worried about what other people think of what you're wearing. Just wear things for yourself. Because if you look in the mirror and you can be happy about that, then that's all the clarification that you need.
That is pretty sage advice for someone who's still in their 20s. I think that's amazing. Which fashion trend would you most like to see make a comeback?
I'd love to see the 50s sort of rockabilly kind of comeback because it's just so fun and colourful.
Joyful.
Yeah, joyful.
Which fashion or beauty trend would you consign to Room 101?
I find it really hard to just throw a whole trend away because my jam might not be somebody else's and somebody might really be into something. So I'm actually going to say I would never throw any trend away because even though it might not be my trend, it might be something that I can take aspects from.
Good answer. Your last impulse buy?
I bought a rather nice coat.
Views on tattoos?
I love them.
High end or high street?
Bit of both.
Bling or bear?
Bling.
Minimalism or maximalism?
Maximalism all the way.
She says loudly. Crocs, cute or puke?
No.
Birkenstocks or boots?
Boots.
Sports Luxe or rock chick?
Rock chick.
Trend or style?
Style.
Colour or monochrome?
Colour.
Experimental or uniform?
Experimental. Very experimental.
Hoarder or editor?
Oh, I'm a bit of both. More hoarder, I think. I'd like to not admit that
I
to
think
myself.
so. Beanie or beret?
Beret.
And finally, one last question. At the end of the day, what do you or don't you wear in bed?
Oh, what do I or don't I wear in bed? I don't wear anything. It's more comfortable.
Perfectly fine too. Serenity, thank you so much for coming and making the journey here today. It's been a fascinating conversation, and I think it's been amazing that you have been so open with your answers. It's been really a wonderful journey for me. Thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And if I could turn the tables and ask you to ask me one style DNA question, what would that be?
Okay, so with me being a student and studying textiles, if there was one piece of industry advice you could give to somebody who's just starting out in the industry, just starting out with their degree, what advice would you give?
I would say understand the industry as well as you possibly can. Go and do as many internships, just absorb as much information. And then the other thing I would say is you don't have to have your own business, or you don't have to be the designer to be a very credible part of the industry. There are so many careers within the industry. You don't have to be the founder, the designer to have a really fulfilling life within the industry.
Yeah, because I mean, from outside the industry, there's a lot of sort of like implication almost that if you go into fashion, you need to be this runway designer and all of this, because that's what most of the media exposes people to. So it's quite refreshing to hear that even if I didn't follow my brand, I can still be a very credible part of the industry.
There are tons of amazing careers within the industry, and it's a brutal industry. It's a really complex, hard industry. So go and get as much knowledge and experience as you possibly can and enjoy it. And if it doesn't feel great, then move on to the next job.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hope that helps.
You did, thank you.
Great. Well, thank you so much.